Hey everybody, it's Mike, and welcome to Chip Damage. And tonight we'll be talking about crowdfunded video games, in particular Kickstarter games. Now to begin, if you don't know what a crowdfunded game is, essentially what it is, it's when a game maker, game developer announces a new project, a new game, and instead of going through the usual means of production, like through a large company to produce the game, they reach directly out to their fans through a website like Kickstarter and request funds in order to get enough money to make that game. Now, typically how it works is the developer will set the amount of money they need, let's say $2 million, and they will be given a set amount of time to raise said money from fans, let's say a month. So within that month, if they can raise that $2 million, that game enters production. And depending on what the donators, the fans give, which are, by the way, usually called backers, like the fans donating money are called backers, those backers will receive individual rewards depending on how much they gave. So if you gave enough money to cover the price of the game, you're usually rewarded with a copy of the game. But if you gave a little bit more, you usually get a little bit more. They could be physical rewards such as keychains or soundtracks, stickers, t-shirts. They could be exclusive DLC. It really ranges the gamut depending on what, the developer, the project, like what you could get depending on what you give. And a few years ago, if you don't know, this was all the rage. I'd say, in particular, there was like a 2 to 3 year period from like 2013 to 2015, 2016-ish, where this was the future of game development, the future of crowdfunding. And it was really fun. If you were there was really this feeling of, man, yeah, let's sidestep the big companies, stick it to the man. And, you know, if we want a game made, even if it's a smaller title, we'll give our developers the money. And it felt awesome. There were many big game developers who kind of took advantage of this or tried this and were kind of pioneers in this. Keiji Inafune of Mega Man fame, Koji Igarashi of Castlevania fame, Yu Suzuki. Many big game developers kind of riled up their fans, and there was a great sense in the air of like, man, this is a new way of game development. And as many of us know, that's not quite the way things are here in the year 2021. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been plenty of fantastic successes in the realm of crowdfunding Kickstarter games, but there's also been a number of high-profile failures. So we're kind of like this weird middle ground now where like people don't necessarily look down on crowdfunding video games, but it's not the hotness that it was a few years ago. I think its zenith has come and gone. And of course, there's many other projects through websites like Kickstarter that are funded and are fantastic, ranging from books to movies to documentaries. But the video game hype itself seems to have really subsided. And there's a number of fantastic smaller projects that have come through and have been wonderful, like the recently released Blasphemous from last year. But the big high-profile releases that you would see being covered on websites, major gaming outlets like GameSpot and IGN have seemed to kind of subside. And that's not to say that what's coming out now isn't great, but that coverage just isn't there. However, yours truly was right there at the forefront, and when this whole craze was booming from 2013 to 2015, I, of course, donated and backed quite a few projects, and I put quite a bit of money into them and received some pretty wacky rewards. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Some of the games that I received through Kickstarter, and what we'll be talking about is the rewards that I got, because some of these are exclusive. You can't get these anymore. They're pretty collectible. There's a decent resale value for quite a few of these. And we'll also be talking about how this game turned out, where it is today, and future prospects for such titles. So without further ado, let's jump into this, shall we? So when you're talking Kickstarter games, for most people, the first game that comes to mind is this gem right here, the box of this game. That is Mighty Number 9. Yes. So if you don't know what Mighty Number 9 is, good for you. But what Mighty Number 9 was, it was Keiji Inafune, one of the, I wouldn't say founding, but one of the most prominent members of Capcom, who is the shepherd of the Mega Man franchise for many, many years, left Capcom, started his own company. I believe he started two companies, Concept, and I always forget the name of the other one. But however, what he wanted to do was he wanted to make a Mega Man inspired title, a game that would carry the torch of the 2D Mega Man games that he had such a big impact on, because they weren't really being made around that time. After Mega Man 10, in late 2010, there really wasn't a Mega Man title for quite a few years, and Mighty Number 9 was going to be the game to remedy that. So after a huge campaign in 2013, it was funded. Mighty Number 9 had exceeded its goal many times over, and we were going to get the new 2D platforming Mega Man that we all wanted. Well, as many videos have covered, that really wasn't what happened. Came out in 2016, a full 3 years after it was funded, and it just wasn't the game that people wanted. Truth be told, I have never actually played through Mighty Number 9. This game was not going well in the production. It was easy to see. It didn't look fun. The advertising campaign was very offensive to people. If you don't know, there are many videos on that. I won't go into that depth here, but this game just did not shape up to be what it should have been and what was promised to fans. This game shipped on everything: Xbox 360, Xbox One, PS4, PS3. There's like 3 PC versions, Vita, 3DS. I don't think the portable versions actually came out. So if you back those versions, let me know if you're still waiting on those copies. But yeah, this was the very first crowdfunded video game that I got involved in, and I had to wait 3 years for it. And this game, let me tell you, it wasn't worth the wait. So at the tier that I backed at, I believe it was $50, 50 US dollars. What I got was what you see here, the NES style box, which, like I said, this game came out in mid-2016. This physical reward, this case didn't come to me until 2017, a full 4 years after I'd backed this project. It also came with a manual, and like it just, at the time it seemed cool. Like, I'll get this game and I'll get the case and manual. However, I only got like a digital copy with it. So like there's no real reason for me to have this box and manual. And like, I just didn't care. By the time I had received this, I'd completely forgotten about the game. I never played through. I got my digital copy. I played it for like 5 minutes. I was like, nah, it's true. It's not that great. And Concept, they've gone on to do some pretty good games in recent years, like the Mighty Gunvolt series, which started on 3DS and has moved on to other platforms, particularly the Switch. It's pretty solid, but this game really took the wind out of the sails of the Kickstarter kind of era, because this was very high profile. I believe Hollow Knight, which is a beloved game, was actually funded a few months before this, but it didn't get as much high profile kind of exposure because of the former Capcom devs that worked on this. So when this came out, it was at the height. This really sparked interest, but when it came out, everyone's like, I'm not so sure about this Kickstarter thing. And it just took so long. The development was fraught with trouble. And I'm not mad that I backed it. I took a chance. That's what you got to do with these backed projects. But this one did not turn out to be the game that should have been. But let's move on, shall we? The second game that I ever backed did turn out to be pretty decent. And that's this right here. That is Shantae Half Genie Hero. Now, for those who don't know, Shantae has kind of been picking up some traction over the last couple years. Shantae is a 2D platformer with some of the games are Metroidvania-esque, where you play as this like little pretty genie girl named Shantae who has genie powers, transformation abilities, and other power-ups, and she levels up as she goes through an adventure to save her town and fights other genies and little monsters and pirates. It's a fun little series. I was like kind of off-put by Shantae at first because, like she is kind of drawn like a Betty Boop style character proportions. Like, is this like a creepy game? Is this like a waifu game? And like, it's not like, it's cutesy. But it's got like some of the characters are a little overly sexual, but you kind of get over that and you see that this is pretty well intentioned. She's just like I said, a Betty Boop styled character. And if you haven't played the Shantae series, it's worth a shot. However, this is the fourth game in the series. The first 3 games in the series, while cult favorites, were not huge hits. So for this first HD release, the fourth game, Half Genie Hero, Way Forward, who are wonderful developers, asked for funding on this. And this was also, I believe, in late 2013, early 2014, the campaign for this started. And this game released in the tail end of 2016. I think this came out in December 2016. And this game was actually pretty solid. Shantae, they couldn't really mess it up too much. Now, I've heard that this game lacks the depth of Shantae in the Pirate's Curse, the third game, which I have not gone through. But from what I played, this is a pretty solid little title. It has very appealing visuals. The control is pretty tight. And they made a sequel to this. So obviously, this one did pretty well. And at the tier that I backed this game at, what I got for it was, of course, a digital copy of the game with some bells and whistles. I got like this exclusive Shantae coin, which is actually like a minted coin. Let me see if I can take that out of its casing for you here. But this is actually pretty nice. You have Shantae on the front, and you got her rival Risky Boots in the back. I hope you guys can see that. But this is like a heavy, hefty coin. I actually really like this. And I also got the backer exclusive Shantae soundtrack, if you can see that. And Shantae's music's pretty good. Like, some of it's pretty basic affair, pretty, lower budget stuff, but it's nice. It has 40 tracks on it, and this never really got released to the public. So I got that. And shortly after the Kickstarter release, I received the digital copy somewhat early they did make physical releases, as you've been seeing here, because this game released on a multitude of consoles. And I just wanted to support the game. I mean, like, I kickstarted it, so I wanted to get like multiple copies of it. And, you know, being a collector, I'm nuts. So this game came, I got the PS4, the Wii U, and the Vita version of this game. And this is the collector's edition that came with a separate soundtrack that is not the same as the backers soundtrack. And like I said, so I guess this game did pretty well because it was backed, it got funded, it got released on multiple consoles, it got a wide release, and then it got an even wider release on the Switch, which is the version that if you want to get this game, this is the way to get it. The Switch has all the bells and whistles, all the DLC, a bonus soundtrack, little art book. This is the way to get it. This was kind of hard to get for a while, but this game has recently got a reprint, so the price has gone down. The backer version that I got came with some exclusive digital content that I got months and months earlier than other people, which is fantastic. But I'm glad that it's been released to the public. You shouldn't gate all content. Like, I got the coin, I got the soundtrack, no one else can get that, but don't lessen the game on the backer's behalf. Everyone should have the same game. So I'm glad that everybody can run out there and get this game on really your console of choice. But if you really want like the complete version, the easiest way to get it, you want to get it on the Switch right here. Shantae, Half Genie Hero. Like I said, this was a lower profile release than anything like Mighty Number 9 or Hollow Knight or Shovel Knight, but it was a solid title. It took 2.5 years, almost 3 years to come out. However, when it came out, there was no real complaints. It was a solid little game. So even though it wasn't enough to kind of redeem the Kickstarter kind of stink that was building up, it's a good game nonetheless. But we must move on. Let's talk about one of the best games that came out on through Kickstarter, through crowdfunding. And you've been staring at a decorative case that I've had here for the game the whole time. And that is, of course, Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. Oh, God, I love this game. So if you don't know, what Bloodstained Ritual of the Night was, it was when director of the game Koji Igarashi, who's most well known for being the director of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, one of my favorite games of all time and one of the most beloved games of all time, left Konami and wanted to make a game in that style. The open world Castlevania where you explore the castle, level up, get points, get new weapons, find secrets. And he wanted to do it his own way. So essentially what he did is he reached out through one of the best Kickstarter videos of all time, asking for funding, and he got it in a minute. For a while, this game was the most backed game ever. I think it got well over $5 million. It was backed in 2019, and it was backed in 2015 and didn't come out in 2019, 4 years later, which was quite a wait, but he mostly delivered. When I say mostly, I just want to say that this game is excellent, but the Switch version, I believe even up until this day, has a number of bugs and glitches. However, the other versions, in PS4, Xbox, Steam, fantastic game. Essentially, if you haven't played this is just Symphony of the Night with a new coat of paint and a swapped castle. It is wonderful. This is probably my favorite game that I backed, and I'm so glad that it was worth the wait. Because like I said, 4 years is a long time to wait for a backed project, and there was multiple delays and an art style change. This one was on the fence. People were really worried whether this would be a good game or not, but it was. It was a huge world, great music, great style, controlled like a dream, and is one of my favorite Metroidvania, or search action, as my boy Matt McMuscles always says, style of game that really lived up to its pedigree. Now, what did I get with this release? Well, this is the standard case. I backed it for a physical version, but as you saw, it came with this lovely slip case, backer exclusive right here, kind of like that holographic look. It even says right there on the back, the campaign Bloodstained like backer exclusive case. Love this. Looks really nice on the shelf. But I got a number of things because I put quite a bit of money into this. So what else did I get with this? I got this little package right here, the Bloodstained kind of like art collection. So what this is, it has a bunch of the art from Ayami Kojima, the artist most well known for her beautiful Castlevania covers. And what did she do for this collection? Well, I got this wonderful full-size poster of Miriam and a number of the characters right there. I hope you guys can see that, which is just wonderful. Like, I don't even want to post this on my wall because I don't want it damaged, but I'm gonna have to like frame this. Like, this is just wonderful art. Makes Miriam look a rather bit older than she really is in the game, but I love Kojima's art on this. But this was a nice bonus. I got the soundtrack, really good music in Bloodstained. Wonderful art on this case as well, if you could see that there, Miriam playing the piano, which if you've played the game, you know is decently relevant to a certain part of the game, to exploring part of the game. And I got this bonus box, Bloodstained, with a little letter on the side of that. If you want to take a quick read of that, pause the video. It's basically a thank you letter to the backers, which is just fantastic. And inside of that came a number of pins and keychains and a sticker. So you have Miriam's like flower glass stain tattoo. You have 2 pins, and you have her sword keychain, which I absolutely adore right there, looking real nice. Nice little nicks and knacks. Love stuff like this. This was a good little bundle. They didn't go cheap on the physical rewards. And it also came with this wonderful art book. This has like almost like a leather feel to it. It's not huge. It's a rather small book in terms of size, but the quality of the images inside, they did not skimp on. It goes through, I don't want to show any spoilers right there, but it goes through a number of the characters' designs, what they look like. It goes through all the accessories, costumes, and weapons, every enemy design, every boss design. It's all right in there in these really nice full color pages. This is probably my favorite thing out of that backer collection. Yeah, it's just awesome. You can see their enemy designs, things like that. They did this one right. This was a nice backer collection. As a note, a lot of these Kickstarter projects, the physical rewards are produced by a site called Fangamer, which makes wonderful officially licensed video game merchandise. They come in like these cardboard boxes in the mail that I can't bring myself to throw out because they have like the design on there and they look really nice. I kind of store my games in there. They have a nice framing and the really nice little touch. Like I knew what I was getting before I opened it, and I can't bring myself to throw these out. But Bloodstained was wonderful. Decent success. Came out in 2019, platinumed the game, but there's more to Bloodstained's story. One of the backer rewards, one of the tiers that fans helped get the creators to was the prequel game. Yes, if the developers were able to receive enough money, they would not only develop the main game, Ritual of the Night, they would make a prequel game kind of getting the story there. And it was made in the classic style of Castlevania 1, 2, and 3. And what that game turned out to be was right here, Castlevania Curse of the Moon, which is a wonderful side game to Bloodstained. Now, it is not a straight prequel. It's kind of like an alternate universe. But this came out on a multitude of consoles, too. As you can see, I have the limited run Switch and PS4 versions right here. But this actually came out on the Vita as well. I believe the 3DS. Any version of this you can play is fantastic. Very different than Ritual of the Night, but a good complementary game. So definitely check that out. If you check out Ritual of the Night, you got to check out Curse of the Moon. So essentially, this Kickstarter project made 2 games, which is kind of unprecedented, and I love that. What you've been looking at here the whole time was actually a Best Buy exclusive case that came out in the United States. I just needed this. I actually bought the separate version of the game just to get this case because look at this. This is gorgeous. Like this is a steelbook that did not come with the Kickstarter, but it was worth getting the money. After I played the game and I saw that Best Buy had this, like, nah, I need this. And here we are in the year 2021, and Bloodstained is still going because late last year, we got Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2, a sequel to the 8-bit game, which is also excellent. Hard as hell, but a great game. So we now have, after the Kickstarter, 3 games in the Bloodstained series, which is more to say than most Kickstarter titles have at this point. We have the main game, and we have Curse of the Moon 1 and 2. So we have a trilogy of games that are all pretty damn good. Of course, Ritual of the Night is my favorite out of the 3, the biggest project, but I must say, I think that's the only game, major game, that has created a trilogy of titles from a lowly Kickstarter game. So good on you, Koji Igarashi. You made my favorite Kickstarter game so far, but we must move on. Now we are on to a controversial and kind of contended topic of Shenmue III. Yes, probably this game was announced at the absolute pinnacle zenith of popularity of Kickstarter games. Bloodstained had recently been announced. Mighty Number 9 and Shantae and Hollow Knight, they're all in development. However, so there was no kind of decline yet because like people didn't know that some of those games wouldn't turn out to be ideal. Shenmue, if you don't know, was one of the most beloved series of games on the Dreamcast. And people wanted a conclusion to it because the game was open at the end of the second one, the story. They were dying for a Shenmue 3 for years and years. So at E3 2015, which is one of the best E3s ever because it's where they announced the remake of Final Fantasy VII, Yu Suzuki, who was the developer of the first 2 games as well as the Virtua Fighter series, came out on stage, onto Sony's stage at E3 and announced this title right here, Shenmue 3, to much acclaim, to so much fan appreciation. The videos out there online will really melt your heart. For those of you who have followed the game journalist Easy Allies, they probably have the most famous reaction to this. That video is one of the reasons that I make videos like this today, to show my appreciation for games. And this was wild. This was the highest funded game. This broke Bloodstained's record. It got well over, I think, $5.5 million. It was initially funded in 2015, and it did not come out until late 2019, 4 years later. And this game is highly contested. Some people liked it, some people absolutely hated it, because it feels like a game that was made in 2000 for an underpowered console. And I have not gone through this myself yet. I am scared to, but Shenmue is a very acquired taste. You have to be in a certain mood for it. I know that. I will say this right off the bat. This is a minor spoiler, so if you're going to play the game, don't listen to this. This game has an open ending again, leaving room for another game. However, I've heard that the recently announced Shenmue anime will continue past Shenmue III and perhaps conclude the saga and give the ending to the story that many fans have wanted. However, I kickstarted this game. I rather enjoyed it. Being part of it, just to revive it, kind of an old Sega IP. I am my shield for Sega. I believe I kickstarted just enough for the game, so I got the game itself. I got this very nice slipcover for it, which I just enjoy. And as a bonus, GameStop also had, for Shenmue 3, an exclusive giveaway that was better than the backer prize that I received. And that is the medallion from within Shenmue. On one side, if you can see, you have the dragon symbol, and on the other side, the phoenix symbol. These are important items in the Shenmue story. This has got a good weight to it. This is a heavy coin. I just wanted it because I like the first two Shenmue games, but I'm just kind of scared to play this, and I kind of want to replay Shenmue 1 and 2 so my memory is sharp and I remember everything when I jump into this. And I know it was not the game that many people were hoping for, but I helped back it. I waited for it for a long time. I'm still kind of dragging my feet with playing it. But Shenmue 3, biggest Kickstarter game at the time. And I think by the time this came out in 2019, the hype for Kickstarter really started to die off. Kickstarter announcements were literally every other month, it felt like, between 2013 and 2015. But now, around the time it launched, 2019, Mighty Number 9 had come out. It had been a big failure. I'll be confident saying that. There's also another title made in the vein of Banjo-Kazooie that many people did not like, called Yooka-Laylee, which I've not played myself, but I know that game turned out to be the way that most people wanted it to be. That was a high-profile kind of pseudo-failure, even though it had a wonderful sequel years later, I said. But there wasn't much hype after release of Shenmue 3 for Kickstarter. However, there was one more project I decided to back in the video game realm, and that was what I have right here. That is the Wonderful 101, the PS4 HD re-release. And if you don't know, Wonderful 101 was originally a Wii U title made back in 2013 by Platinum Games, my favorite game developer, well known for making Bayonetta and Mad World and Metal Gear Revengeance. However, Wonderful 101 sold abysmally. Number one, because of perhaps just its marketing and the kind of presentation that was given out to fans of the type of game it was. But more importantly, it was a Wii U exclusive. Yes. Any new IP launching on the Wii U is just going to fail. And one is kind of weird and very Japanese, as the Wonderful 101 just wasn't going to do well. This game was kind of a spiritual successor to Beautiful Joe in style and maybe tone, but not in gameplay. This game is like some weird third-person action plus Pikmin game that is very hard to kind of quickly and succinctly describe, but it was a solid game that deserved a second chance. So in 2020, it was given a second chance when Hideki Kami of Platinum Games announced a Kickstarter to produce and get out copies of the PS4, the Switch, and Xbox. I don't think there was an Xbox One version, but a new version of this game for more fans to enjoy. And I kickstarted immediately because I like Platinum Games and I like this game on the Wii U. And yeah, that's what I got right here. Now, this game, I'm still actually waiting on the physical rewards for. I don't think I ever received them. I got this last year, but that's just kind of how Kickstarter is. Sometimes you don't get the physical rewards for a year or two, and that's one of the huge reasons that Kickstarter's kind of fallen out of favor. But this was the last one that I funded, and I got the game, and I enjoyed it. Wonderful 101. If you haven't tried it, give the game a shot. No one has played this. It's really a shame. It's a fun little game. Is it Platinum's best game? Hell no, not by a mile. But it's a solid title if you're looking for something unique. Now, that is kind of the conclusion of the video games per se that I have funded, but I've also funded some video game adjacent projects. And in some ways, these projects turned out better than video games themselves because they came out faster and maybe the expectations weren't as high. But I would like to kind of highlight them here as a bonus for you guys. So there's also, Kickstarter is also well known for helping produce books. And I jumped in on a couple of these. Of course, being a Sega shill, when they did Service Games, The Rise and Fall of Sega, which is an entirely very well detailed with many images, many perspectives, the rise and fall of Sega as a console industry from the Master System to the Dreamcast, kind of various developer stories and insider information of what went right, what went wrong in the marketing and the game design industry. I needed to have it. This is a wonderful book. I've read this from cover to cover, and if you're just interested in Sega history or video game history as a whole, this book is now widely available, but it needed some help getting off the ground with this Kickstarter edition. That is Service Games, The Rise and Fall of Sega. Well worth reading. If you had any of these consoles, if you were interested in the history of gaming at all, definitely worth a few bucks that you can go out and get it for now. Rise and Fall of Sega, Service Games. I was right there when this Kickstarted. So happy I was part to get this out there. Continuing down the Sega love, we got to talk about one more project that they did, and that is this lovely Sega Genesis or Mega Drive for my boys overseas, the Collected Works book. I hope you can see the kind of embossed Genesis / Mega Drive on the cover there. Now, what this is very cool. So this is a hardcover book that goes through the Genesis's history in particular, somewhat similarly to the book before, but this is way more visual. It has key artwork of stages, sprites, characters from throughout the Genesis's history, its popular games, promotional artwork, insider information, pictures of stages, pictures of sprites. This is really cool. It shows the technical specs for all the systems. You know, if you ever want detailed looks at the sprites of your favorite games like Sonic or Comic Zone or Vector Man, like this is the game to check out, and they're going to talk about it. They go over like the various Sega consoles and peripherals that didn't do well, the Sega Activator, the 32X, the Nomad, all that stuff. Like, you know, the like it's just visual images with tech information and then a little blurb about the history. The Genesis Collected Works. This was really special. This was a book that was kickstarted. I believe it is on shelves, or it was for a while, but I know you can order it now from Pix and Love, which is a European book website that makes fantastic video game hardcover books regarding history and art. So definitely check that out anytime you can. If you're a Genesis / Mega Drive fan, you can get that at pixandlove.com. PIX''N''Love.com. Genesis Collected Works. And what you can also get there is the next book that I helped kickstart, and that is the Dreamcast Collected Works. My favorite console. Do I think it's the best console of all time? In my heart of hearts, I'm not sure. Subjectively, yes. Objectively, I know it's not true, but I love the Dreamcast so much, and it's very similar. What you got here is artwork, specs, interviews, all about Dreamcast, and just, it's wonderful. Like, you get to see how they designed the logos, how they designed the art. You can see the Shenmue coin that I was showing off earlier right here when they were designing Shenmue. You get artist blurbs, you get developer blurbs, interviews, all that good stuff. Demo art from Grind Radio, or Jet Set Radio as be later known. All this great. I love this stuff, and yet again, you get this on Pix and Love. You get design specs on the Dreamcast for all you tech heads out there. This is gibberish to me, but I love it. I just love that I have it. I just love that I can look through and know, like, hey, what about Panzer Dragoon and all this stuff, and it'll just have artwork. It'll tell you the detailed specs and history of the VMU. This stuff, I'm so glad that, like, this doesn't have a wide market, so I'm glad that the publishers of the book reached out through Kickstarter to get these made, because these are stories that should be told, and I'm glad that they could. One more look, the taxis from Crazy Taxi, like just the 360 design, so cool. So those 3 Sega books down, but as one last thing, there was one other Kickstarter project that I backed that I'd like to bring up. I'm also a huge anime fan. If you haven't seen my anime collection video and my future videos that I'll be looking for, please check them out and look forward to those. But I did back one anime movie, which is right here, and that is My Miracle. Now what this is, it's a cute little family drama anime that got a lot of praise in Japan but wasn't going to be published over in the United States. So I decided to throw some money at this, and I had to wait quite a while for this to come overseas. However, it finally did come overseas, received a dub and a full release. And I'm glad I did this. My name is in the credits of this. That's always kind of cool. I have my name in the credits of an anime. And the movie is not going to rock your socks or blow your mind, but it was cool to be part of an anime coming over here, a movie that won quite a few awards over in Japan that wasn't going to get here. I'd like to help get it off the ground. And what I got for that was a wonderful art book with some fantastic concept art and background art. Half the reason I kickstarted this movie was because I watched videos in the background art, and I'm like, yeah, no, I need this. I want this officially as a Blu-ray. And I got it by throwing a few bucks at it. And wow, that kind of does it. I guess over the years, I've had kickstarted more projects than I thought, from books to a movie to games. It's been fantastic. It's been a wild ride. However, I feel like that craze is kind of over. There hasn't been a Kickstarter project announced in quite a while that has captured my interest. I know that there's a huge market for things like board games and toys and projects like that. However, the video game market has seemed to kind of die down. Now, there have been huge successes and critically acclaimed things, like I said earlier, like Hollow Knight and Shovel Knight and the Banner Saga. However, failures like Mighty Number 9 and the pseudo-failure of Yooka-Laylee has kind of made people forget about Kickstarter. And maybe it's that huge wait. I think the wait is the problem. You get hyped for a game, you pay for it, and then you see the projected release date. It was like 2017, March for Bloodstained, but we didn't get it till like June or July 2019. That kind of threw some people off because, hey, making game is hard. Even with money, it's not an easy process. So I forgive the developers, but I understand that maybe it's not the best way to implement getting a game out there. So it's kind of fallen off. And that's a shame because we got some good titles out of that. Now, going forward, I love this channel to be a discussion channel. I say this in every one of my videos. I try to read all the comments and respond to them as quickly as possible. And I thank you all so much for your comments on my past videos. But what I want to hear is your Kickstarter, your crowdfunded stories. Did you back one of these games? Were you one of my fellow backers on these projects? Did you back other projects? What is your story with them? Because almost every Kickstarter or crowdfunded story project has stories. I've known other people like, oh man, I didn't get the rewards at all. I had to go through this website. I had to wait years. I had to pay extra money. I got declined, this or that. There's so many stories that I've heard attached to crowdfunding projects, and I would love to hear yours. Were you satisfied by your project? Were you dissatisfied? Did you get disappointed? Did you get the project early? Did you have to wait years and years? Did it fail? Tell me the stories, please. I want to hear them. I'll respond to them if I can. I just want to start that conversation. So if you have stuck through this whole video where I go through all the random junk I've received in the mail, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me on this. Please subscribe if you like what you've seen today and check out some of my other videos. My name is Mike. This has been Chip Damage, and take care of yourselves. Thank you.